As the doctors always say, they call it medicine, I call it poison. But beyond that, I'm not going to tell you to stop taking what your doctors tell you to take. This is going to be all up to you. I'm just going to explain to you what I have done and what has helped me from the past. When I was 28 years old, my lungs collapsed. Nobody could figure out why. They ended up giving me Percodan for pain. Percodan, I'm sure some of you will know, it is very addictive. And as it turned out, I ended up getting addicted to the Percodan, but before I did, it almost killed me. It started to put me to sleep. It started at my feet, went up to my ankles, up to my kneecaps, and about the time it got up to my waist, I was scared. So I called the doctor. The doctor said if he didn't hear from me in an hour, that he'd be over my house. But he told me I had to drink 16 cups of black coffee, no sugar, no milk, and that it would reverse the reaction, hopefully. And he said, call him back in an hour. I couldn't drink 16 cups of black coffee. This stuff is terrible without cream and sugar. And since I don't use sugar anymore, this was one of the reasons that stopped me. But I drank the about 8 cups. I could handle about 8 cups. I couldn't drink anymore, and I called the doctor back. He said, how are you feeling? I said, the feeling is starting to come back in my legs. It got up to my waist, and it was just weird. I felt like I was sitting on my waist, like my legs didn't exist any longer. He told me I was developing an allergic reaction to the chemicals that I was taking for the pain that I had after my surgeries for my lung. It was going to kill me. He said if it had gone up to my heart, it would have put my heart to sleep. It would have put my lungs to sleep, and I would have been gone. Thank God I was smart enough to call the doctor when those feelings started happening, because I just never felt anything like that in my life. So the doctor saved my life, and the chemicals that I was taking, he told me not to take them. I said, what am I going to do about the pain? He told me that my mind was being confused by the painkillers, and that every so many hours my pain would come back, and it would start to come back excruciating, where I would have to take some pills because I was becoming addicted to them. So he said, what you've got to do is be strong. He said, when the pain comes, he said, try to bear through it. Try not to take anything. He said, I will promise you that in 48 hours your pain will be gone. And you know what? He was right. It was tough. It really was. It hurt so bad. But I managed to get through that pain, and sure enough, 48 hours later, I had no more pain. It was wonderful. So with that said, that started me on researching. I wanted to research and find out how the body worked. I never went to college, and I didn't go to school, but I wanted to find out for myself why the body works the way it does. Can I heal myself? If I have that much power in my mind, it's got to be something that you can do to help yourself. When I reached the age about 33, I believe, I had a pain in my side, and I was hurting so bad. I went to a gynecologist. They x-rayed me and checked me all out, and they told me that I had a cyst. They said the cyst was 6 centimeters, and it was way back in the back of my ovary. He said it would never go away, it would just get bigger. He said he wanted to do an operation and take out my ovaries and possibly do a hysterectomy. I said no. I didn't want anybody cutting me up, taking out parts. So I thought there's got to be a better way. So all this time, from the age of 28, when I had my lung collapse on me 4 times, by the way, and 3 times I almost died from it, and I did all this research and stuff, I started to do research on the cyst and everything, and I learned all about it. And the doctor was right in his diagnosis as far as it not getting smaller, that it would get larger, and eventually I would have to have an operation. But I was refusing that. I thought there's got to be a better way. So I thought, God gave me the power of my brain. I'm going to get rid of this cyst. Every night before I went to bed, I would start to think in my mind about a little man in a wheelbarrow with a pickaxe and a shovel. and I would watch him go around my body inside, and he would get to this little cyst in my ovary, and he would start picking at it with a pickaxe. He'd chop it up in a lot of little pieces, take a shovel, and I'd shovel the pieces up and throw it in the wheelbarrow. I would do that every night, and I would fall asleep, and that's what I would be thinking when I fell asleep. After about 3 months of doing that, I went to the doctor because he said he wanted to check on me every 3 months to see how that cyst was progressing. And I went to the doctor. That 6-centimeter cyst dropped down to 3 centimeters. He said, that's impossible. He said, that can't be. And he said, those cysts they don't go away. They get bigger. He said, I don't know what you're doing, but he said, whatever it is you're doing, keep doing it. I was going to tell him what I was doing, but he didn't really want to hear it. So the next 3 months I went home, and every night I went to sleep watching that little man with a pickaxe and a shovel go down there and chop away at this cyst and throw it in the wheelbarrow and then throw it away. That's all I did. And when you think about something like that and picture it in your mind and watching this little man chop this cyst and throw these pieces into a wheelbarrow and then run off down the road and dump it, you fall asleep. That's what you fall asleep thinking. So the whole time, your brain is still working on that little man the whole night while you're sleeping. 3 months later, which was a total of 6 months altogether, I went back to the doctor. And he said, I don't know what you did. He said, but the cyst is gone. I said, I told you. Not going to operate on me. I used the power of my mind, but I also used God's will. I always prayed every night, please, Lord, help me get rid of this cyst. I know some of you may not be religious. That's okay. That's okay. The point is your mind is amazing, and you need to know how to work it. I got rid of that cyst. Again, I'm 77 years old, and I have never had a hysterectomy. I still have all my parts. Nothing has ever been taken out. I have had my lungs fixed, but we never did find out what the reason for that was. I believe it was because I was pregnant with my youngest daughter at the time, and I was hugged so profusely that maybe my rib punctured a hole in my lung, and then the hole never healed, and I had to go back and back and back. Finally, they operated and put 7 clamps in my lungs, so he calls them stars. So I have stars in my lung when I have an x-ray. So that, again, really fascinated me. Some people would say, oh, that's a miracle. No, I used the power of my mind. God gave me a mind, and I used it. We don't realize how powerful our minds are and how much energy our bodies actually have, but we can heal ourselves. And that was one way that I wanted to show you how to do it. You can do it. So then again, I kept studying, and I'd read a lot of things, and I'd found a few doctors on YouTube, which were really amazing to me. Dr. John Bergman is one. He's a chiropractor. He's got 20 years in the business. He's fascinating. And if you ever want to really listen to somebody who can tell you how to heal yourself, he can do it. He has free Tuesdays. He teaches a lot of other doctors and students of his way of doing medicine. And his way is, as far as I can see, pretty well the best way. And then there's a couple other doctors out there that have really good ideas, and they're more leaning towards the holistic side of medicine, because they too believe drugs are not medicine. They're chemicals and they're poison, and they hurt our bodies. Big Pharma's making out like a killer. And when they tell you, oh, well, go see your doctor for this or go see your doctor for that. Your doctor goes to medical school. He's supposed to be following the law of medical practice. He's not allowed to tell you not to take a medicine. He's not allowed to tell you to take vitamins. There's a lot of things that they're not allowed to tell you, because if you're sick, they make money. I love you, doctors. You're great for broken bones and stitching people up, but I'm sorry, when it comes to pills, no. I'm one that is dead set against it. My husband had cancer, and he died of cancer, and I had told him I had done more research on that topic too. And I told him I could cure you of cancer, and he told me I was crazy. He said, no, you can't. He said, they don't have a cure for cancer. Yeah, they don't want a cure for cancer because people get cancer and they die. People get cancer, they got to go to a doctor. People get cancer, they have to take chemicals. People are killing themselves, doctors are killing them, and they're not getting rid of the cancer. I'm telling you, I can get rid of the cancer because I've done a lot of study. And he said, oh, he made fun of me. He said, you're listening to Facebook or you're listening to something, I don't know. And I said, no, I've done a lot of research. I can cure you of cancer. So he said, how? I said, well, one, you got to change your diet. Two, you've got to keep your body in an alkaline condition. Cancer cannot grow in an alkaline body. It's a proven fact. It can't grow. What makes your body acidic? Juices, fried foods, foods that you shouldn't be eating like potato chips, soda, a lot of those things. You cut that out of your life and get your body in an alkaline condition, you won't get cancer. And if you have cancer, it'll stop it in its tracks. Now, you don't have to believe me, and I'm not trying to convince you. I just know it works. So, with that said, that's all up to you on what you want to do with your life. I also ended up having a stress heart attack because my husband had cancer and I was there worried about him. I was worried sick because he wouldn't listen to me. And one day we sat in the doctor's office and the doctor was trying to tell him he didn't want to give him any more chemo because he said that he was just killing him. And I told him, I said, doctor, please. I said, just do me one favor. We're in a room. Nobody can hear us. I said, will you just tell him the truth? Tell him that as long as he keeps wanting chemo, he's going to die anyway. Because he's not eating right. He's not doing what he should do to keep his body cancer-free. I said he was free for about 2 months. And then, I'm sorry, my nose is, I have sinus. I just got over a cold, so my sinuses are messed up right now. But anyway, getting back to that. So the doctor said, well, you know what, Mark? My husband's name was Mark. He said, Mark, she's right. He said, I hate to admit it, but he says she's right. He said, I don't want to give you chemo because I like you. I don't want to kill you. And that's all I'm doing is killing you. So my husband turned and looked at me and he said, well, I guess I should have listened to you. I said, well, you know, what husband listens to their wives? I haven't found one yet that does. And I'm sure you'll agree with me there. So anyway, my husband ended up dying, but before he died, his last chemo treatment that he had, I didn't feel good. I always told everybody, you know, when I didn't feel good, I got agita. I just don't feel good. And agita is Italian for upset stomach, I guess, is a basic way to put it. So I said I had agita. So the nurse up there said, no, there's something wrong with you. I said, no, I'm fine. I just don't feel good. I said, I'll be fine in a little bit. She said, no. She said, I think there's something wrong. She said, I'm going to have somebody get a wheelchair and take you down to the emergency room. I said, no, I'll be fine, you know. She said, no, you're going down to the emergency room. So my husband went in to have his chemo, and she got a wheelchair and had a girl wheel me down to the emergency room, and they found that I was having a swollen heart syndrome. It was kind of like having a heart attack, but not having a heart attack. I don't know how to explain it. But I was stressed out so much over my husband, it caused me to have problems with my heart. So they went down and they decided that they were going to put a stent in because they thought that my artery was a little too small, so they wanted to open it up. Which, if I had thought about it sooner, I would have said no. I didn't want it done. But I was stressed out over my husband, and that's all I could care about was what was going on with my husband. I didn't even think about myself. But I had this stress heart attack, but it wasn't a heart attack. They said later on it was that broken heart syndrome is what they called it. My heart kind of swelled up because I was so stressed out. When they say stress can kill, trust me, it can kill. So again, you know, going through everything I went through, and then my husband dying, I still didn't stop researching. I wanted to know. I was so fascinated about how the body worked, how the brain works, how all of this stuff works. So they gave me this medicine to take because they said I had a heart attack. They gave me Brilinta, which was a new drug at the time. Said you could never stop taking it once you started taking it. They gave me some kind of blood pressure medicine because my blood pressure was up. Let me tell you something. Your blood pressure will go up. It'll go up if you're watching a comedy on TV. It'll go up if you're watching a sad movie. It'll go up if somebody steps on your toe. It's going to go up. It has to go up because that's what the body is designed to do, to protect you. Your blood pressure will raise. But yet they want to give you medicine or poison to make it lower. What happens if your blood pressure is too low that it can't pump the blood to your heart? Think about that for a moment. Have you thought about it? You have a heart attack, you're going to die because your blood's not pumping properly. So people get to take, because they say your blood pressure's too high. Well, yeah, when you go into a doctor's office, it's going to go up because you're worried about the doctor. You're worried about what's going to say, what's going to be said, what's going to happen. They're going to weigh you. Oh my God, you gained a pound. Oh Lord, that's going to worry you. That's going to make your blood pressure go up. But yet they want to take your blood pressure when you're already anxious and excited. So guess what? Your blood pressure is going to raise. And then they're going to tell you, you have hypertension. You need to take this medicine to keep it down. No. So they gave me blood pressure medicine. And then on top of that, they always throw in cholesterol. Do you know that 80% of your brain is cholesterol? Think about that for a minute. Yes, I've done a lot of research. I really have. Now, if 80% of your brain is cholesterol, and they give you cholesterol-lowering medicine, or again, poison, and you take it and you lower your cholesterol, how do they know it's not the high cholesterol or the low cholesterol, the good cholesterol, the bad cholesterol? They don't know. They don't. And there's not one out there that's going to tell you that they know, because they don't. The cholesterol in your brain, you need to function. So if you lower your cholesterol, what are you doing to your brain function? Think about that one for a minute. Wonder where Alzheimer's comes. How about dementia? I bet you if you ask all of those people if they've taken cholesterol medicine, I'll guarantee you that's what they've been taking. Yeah, so I decided, no, I'm not going to take that anymore. In fact, when I was taking the cholesterol medicine, I got to the point where I couldn't even raise my arms up over my head to brush my hair. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. When I started taking that cholesterol medicine, I was falling apart. I was starting to think, wow, at that time, I think I was like 60, in my 60s. And I was ready for a walker or a cane. I couldn't brush my hair. I couldn't hardly walk. I couldn't get up and down. I was suffering terribly. And then I started doing some studying on cholesterol medicine, and that can affect people in different ways. Now, like I said, I'm not telling you to stop taking your medicine. I'm just telling you what I did. So I got to thinking about it and did some more research, and I said, you know what? I'm not taking blood pressure medicine anymore because I found out that the older you get, the higher your blood pressure is going to go when you get excited. So for me, my normal blood pressure would be like 140. And they say, no, it's got to be 120. And I say, no, mine's about 140. And that's normal for me. That's okay. Now, if it gets up to 160, 170, it would be a little high. But I'm not going to take pills to knock it down. Because it went up for a reason. And it is protecting my heart. And you will find, if you do some research, that people that take blood pressure medicine are the first ones to die of a heart attack than the people who have high blood pressure and don't take medicine. Why is that? Good question. The next thing, blood pressure. When they go in to do blood pressure, and you know how you get anxious and it goes up anyway, and then they put this cuff on your arm and they choke. They choke the artery in your arm. It hurts, doesn't it? They blow you up. And then they expect your blood pressure to be normal after they choke the living crap out of your arm. And then your blood pressure, if you went in there and it was 140, it's going to be 150 at least. and they're going to say, you have high blood pressure, I got to give you medicine. Not me. So I stopped taking my blood pressure medicine. I stopped taking my cholesterol medicine. I'm able to comb my hair now. I can put my arms way up over my head. I can circle them around. I can do all kinds of things. I can get up and down and walk around. I'm fine. And then I stopped taking the blood pressure medicine, and my heartbeat went back down to where it should be. And then I started monitoring it. My sitting down pressure sometimes was like 130, 120. It even went down to 117 once without medication. Without medication. And then the other thing, the Brilinta. I read the side effects to this stuff, and they said I had to take it because it was going to help my heart. I said, you know what, if this medicine could kill me, or make me sick, or make me have diarrhea, or make me dizzy, where I can't drive, or anything else, why do I want to take such a thing? And then it says that once I start taking it, I'd never be able to stop. Well, I said, you know what? I'm going to take my chances. I'm going to leave this is in God's hands. And I stopped taking the medicine. Or I should say poison. Again. It's just my opinion. I've done my research. You know. You don't have to believe me. But I'm just telling you what I did. And I stopped all of that. They also said I had diabetes. I'm going to tell you that in another video. I got rid of diabetes because I did. I had diabetes. I had type 2. I got rid of it. And I'll talk about that in the next video. But this video is just an eye-opener. I just want you to be aware that doctors don't mean harm. They do mean well. But because the Medical Association doesn't allow them to humanly care about you, to make money on giving you one pill after another, and if this one don't work, come back and see me, and if that one doesn't work, come back and see me, and all the time you're at the office and you're sitting there waiting and they're reading up because they don't know what's wrong with you. They really don't. You know how you sit there and you wait and you wait and you wait, and then finally the doctor comes in? You know what he's doing? He's reading your chart, trying to find out what happened the last time you were there. Then he's going to look up in his medical book if there's any other symptoms or any other treatments that he can give you, and then he comes in and he says, well, try this, see if this works, try that, see if this works. And then he say, if it doesn't work, let me know. Come back in about 3 months and see me. Come back in about 6 months and see me. Whatever the issue is, always come back and see me. And then you go back and they change your medicine, and the next thing you know, you got another chemical. And then if you go to a different doctor, you get more chemicals. And then you get sitting and you're looking at your dresser and you got 14 bottles of pills on your dresser. Take this. This country is full of pills. Why? I'll tell you that in another video too. So you hang tight, guys. I just wanted to introduce to you my way of living. And my way of living has been working quite well for me lately. And I'm sure once you find out all about me, your life will turn out better too. So until then, the next video, put a like and make sure you hit that subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can get more information from me. The next video I'm going to talk about is diabetes. Until then, I love you, I care about you, and I want to help you. I want to open your eyes and give you your chance to decide on your health and what you want to do, not what everybody else wants to do for you. Thank you. And until then, bye-bye.